I'm sitting here now looking at the ocean from the window of this ridiculously expensive private villa in the Maldives, the kind of view people dream about, the one you see on postcards, all turquoise and blinding white sand. This was supposed to be the perfect start to my perfect life, my honeymoon. But all I feel is this icy, churning sickness in my stomach. Because 2 days ago, on this very island, I found out my husband, the man I'd promised forever to, is a walking, breathing lie. Let me take you back 6 years to when I first met Alex. He was the kind of man who filled a room handsome, successful, incredibly charming, but not in that sleazy player way. He was warm, attentive, and genuinely seemed to see me. He ran a successful real estate development firm, not a billionaire, but doing exceptionally well. He had this quiet ambition that I admired. We were introduced through mutual friends, and from our first date, I felt like I was finally where I was supposed to be. He was stable, mature, and talked about a future that included marriage, a house with a big kitchen, and maybe 2 kids. He was everything I hadn't known I was waiting for. We dated for 2 years. 2 years of flawless dates, holidays, meeting each other's friends, and eventually families. Alex was always a little guarded about his past, which, looking back, should have been my first red flag. He told me he'd been engaged once, years ago, but it ended badly and he didn't like talking about it. A simple, common enough story. I respected his boundary. I figured everyone has baggage, and he had obviously moved on and was fully committed to me. The engagement itself was a fairy tale. On a trip to Paris on a small boat on the Seine, he pulled out a ring that made me gasp. It wasn't just the size, it was the thought, the moment, the way he looked at me, pure love, I thought. We spent the next year planning the most beautiful wedding. It was lavish, yes, but also deeply personal. Every detail, from the flowers to the vows we wrote, felt like a testament to our genuine, unbreakable love. My family adored him. My girlfriends were insanely jealous. I felt like the luckiest woman alive. The wedding day itself was exactly what I dreamed of. Sun shining, perfect weather, everyone we loved in one place. When the officiant asked, "Do you, Alex, take Clara?" His voice was strong and clear, "I do." My heart nearly burst out of my chest. I genuinely, profoundly believed every single word he said, every promise he made to me. Then came the honeymoon. We flew first class to the Maldives, landing in a tiny seaplane that took us to our secluded resort. It was paradise. For the first few days, we didn't leave the villa. It was pure, blissful, newlywed energy. He was exactly the husband I'd married, funny, passionate, and incredibly sweet. The change happened on the 3rd day. We were having lunch on our deck when Alex got a text message. It was a photo, and the screen lit up with enough light for me to catch a glimpse before he snatched the phone away. It was a picture of a child, a little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old, smiling widely, and written just beneath the photo, I saw a name, Benny. The text itself started with, "He's asking for you, Daddy." I froze. Alex's face went pale, a sickening, ashy color I had never seen before. He shoved the phone into his pocket and cleared his throat too quickly, too loudly. "Who was that?" I asked, my voice flat. I wasn't accusing, I was confused. He had never mentioned having a child or even a close friend with a young son he called Benny. Alex laughed, a dry, high-pitched sound that didn't reach his eyes. "Oh, that? Just, one of my friend's kids. Steve. You know Steve? Big guy, runs the landscaping company. He's always texting me photos of his kids." Annoying, really. I didn't know Steve. I knew of him, but Alex had never shown me photos of his children, and certainly not with the word "daddy" attached to the message. The explanation was weak, and the terror in Alex's eyes was undeniable. And the text started with "daddy." I pressed him, the suspicion already hardening into a knot in my chest. He shifted uncomfortably in his chair. No, it said daring, like dear. Autocorrect, probably. It's always screwing up his messages. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept the lie, but in that moment, the entire foundation of our 2 years together, the unwavering trust, the certainty of our future, cracked. Something was terribly wrong. I excused myself to the bedroom, saying I needed to nap, but I was shaking. I went straight for his briefcase. I knew he kept his work phone, an older model he said was just for his construction sites, tucked in an interior pocket. He never used it around me. I hadn't even seen it since the wedding. I took it out, my fingers fumbling with the lock screen. It was protected by a simple 4-digit code. I tried our anniversary. Failed. I tried the month and year we met. Failed. Then, on a horrible, sick instinct, I tried the little boy's assumed birthday. 11:05. The phone clicked open. What I found wasn't just proof of a lie, it was proof of an entire alternate reality I had been completely excluded from. The phone was a shrine to another life. There were thousands of photos, not just of Benny, who was clearly Alex's son, bearing his exact features, but also of a beautiful, smiling woman. The woman was Alex's first wife. But as I scrolled through, the dates on the photos told a different, chilling story. They weren't old photos from a past life. They were current. A photo dated 3 weeks ago. Happy 5th birthday, Benny. Best dad and mom in the world. A video taken last Christmas of Alex helping Benny open presents. The woman was right there, kissing Alex on the cheek. The last photo, taken just 2 weeks before our wedding, was the most devastating. It was a family portrait, framed, Alex, the woman, and Benny, standing in front of a house I immediately recognized. It was a house Alex often drove past and would casually point out, saying, "Nice little place. Just sold that one last month." It was their house, their family home. I slid down the wall, clutching the phone, trying to breathe. It wasn't just a text message from a friend. Alex wasn't just lying about a child, he was living a double life. He was a bigamist. I was his mistress, his other woman, and the woman who thought she was his wife was the real Mrs. Davies. And I had just married a man who, legally, was still married to someone else. The "I do" I heard at the altar was worthless. I was legally nothing. The perfect life was the perfect, monstrous lie. I couldn't scream. I couldn't cry. All the air had been vacuumed out of the room, leaving behind only the cold, sterile shock of betrayal. My husband was sitting outside, probably rehearsing the next layer of his beautiful, intricate lie, entirely unaware that his meticulously constructed world had just imploded in my hands. The perfect wife, the perfect life, the perfect honeymoon. All of it was a grotesque illusion. I was married to a man who was already married. I had to move, but my legs felt like lead. I managed to lock the bedroom door. Panic was a heavy, suffocating blanket, but underneath it, a cold, hard logic began to assert itself. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was in danger. What else was Alex capable of? A man who could maintain this level of deception for years was not just a liar. He was a psychopath. I went back to the old phone, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I needed names. I needed addresses. I needed to know the identity of the woman who was the real Mrs. Davies. I scrolled through the contacts. Alex was smart enough not to label her wife or secret family. She was listed simply as EK. But the texts and photos gave me everything I needed. Their correspondence was mundane, domestic, sickeningly normal. Grocery lists, dentist appointments, complaints about the furnace, discussions about Benny's school concert. It was the texture of a real, long-term marriage. I felt physically ill reading their affectionate banter. One text from EK read, "Just saw you on the news clip about the new development. So proud of you, babe. Hurry home. Benny misses his bedtime story." The news clip, that was the key. Alex's firm had just broken ground on a major project. I quickly navigated to the phone's browser history. Thank God he wasn't tech-savvy enough to erase his digital footprint on this burner phone. I searched his company name and news clip. The article popped up immediately. It was a local news feature, complete with a photo of Alex beaming and a short bio. I didn't care about the bio. I was looking for comments. And there it was, 3 comments down, a name that jumped out at me, Erica Klein. The profile picture matched the beautiful woman in the family photos. The comment read, "Congratulations to my amazing husband, Alex Davies, on this huge success. Our family is so proud. Erica Klein." The name solidified the whole nightmare. She wasn't just a former partner or a mistake from his youth. She was his current legal wife, openly celebrating him, and she was right there in the city where Alex and I lived. Next, I needed the location. I went back to the photos. That house, the one Alex just sold. I recognized the distinct portico and the bright red mailbox. Using the details I remembered, I searched real estate listings in his usual operating area. It wasn't hard to find. Alex had pointed out that area enough. Within minutes, I had an address. It was a charming 2-story colonial in the wealthy, established neighborhood of Oakwood. This wasn't a temporary affair or a secret fling. This was a whole, fully realized life. They owned a home, had a child, and were publicly recognized as a couple. And Alex had somehow managed to keep this entire existence perfectly separate from mine, from our life in our sleek, modern downtown condo. My mind raced. How? How could he do this? He traveled a lot for work, often 4 or 5 days a week, always saying he was in another state scouting land or meeting investors. I'd always believed him. I'd been proud of his dedication. Now I understood. He wasn't away on business. He was just going home to his real family, the wedding. The thought hit me like a physical blow. Our expensive, beautiful wedding. He had rented a space, hired an officiant, and signed a piece of paper that meant absolutely nothing. He had stood there, lied to me, lied to my family, and performed the perfect show while his actual wife and child were less than 20 miles away. Did Erica know about me? Was she in on the deception? No. Her texts seemed too genuine, too trusting. The horror was that both women, Erica and I, were victims of the same man I had to get out of the villa, out of his immediate orbit before he came back. But where could I go? I was on a remote island trapped with my bigamist husband. I quickly packed an overnight bag with my passport, my wallet, the most expensive piece of jewelry Alex had given me, a diamond necklace. Collateral, I thought grimly, and most importantly, the burner phone. I deleted my travel app history and cleared the search on my own phone. I needed him to think everything was normal just for a few more hours. When Alex knocked on the door, his voice was falsely cheerful. "Clara, honey, you okay?" Did you fall asleep?" I unlocked the door and forced a smile onto my face. A brittle, terrifying mask. "Sorry, darling. Just got hit by a wave of jet lag. I think the sun and the wine got to me." I walked over and kissed him lightly, the act of physical contact turning my stomach. He smelled of sea salt and deceit. He relaxed visibly, relief flooding his eyes. He bought the lie. "Good. I thought maybe you were upset about something," he mumbled, trying to sound casual. "Upset? Why would I be upset, Alex? We're in paradise. We just got married. Everything is perfect," I said, the word perfect tasting like ash in my mouth. "Exactly," he said, putting his arm around me. "Let's go see the sunset from the deck. I ordered champagne." I knew I couldn't call the police here. The jurisdiction would be a nightmare, and I needed to handle this with precision, not public melodrama. I needed to get off this island and back to the U.S., where the legal system and Erica were. "You know, Alex," I said, leaning my head on his shoulder, plotting my escape, "I feel like I need a massive shopping spree to fully recover from that jet lag I saw a tiny boutique when we landed at the main airport. Could we maybe fly out tomorrow morning just for the day to that bigger island? We could be back by dinner." I hated the sound of my voice, so sweet, so compliant, but I needed a way out. Alex chuckled. "You and your retail therapy. Fine, Clara. Whatever my beautiful new wife wants. I'll call the seaplane company now tomorrow morning. You get your shopping fix." He walked away, pulling out his real phone to make the call. I stood there, watching the perfect, deceptive Maldivian sunset. Knowing the biggest performance of my life was about to begin, I wasn't going shopping. I was going home to dismantle his two lives, piece by sickening piece. I was going to meet the other Mrs. Davies. The seaplane ride the next morning felt like a scene from a thriller movie. Alex was relaxed, happily talking about how much fun we'd have on our shopping trip to the main atoll. Pointing out the manta rays in the crystal clear water below, I sat beside him, every muscle in my body coiled tight, rehearsing my next moves. My smile felt like it was tearing my face. I had to maintain the illusion of the deliriously happy newlywed, just a little bit longer. When we landed, the plan was simple. Get to the international airport on the pretext of wanting a specific luxury brand they only carried there, and then disappear. "Alex, darling, you know how long I take in designer stores," I cooed, giving him my best performance of a spoiled, demanding wife. "It'll be hours. Why don't you use this time? I know you hate shopping. Go find a nice quiet cafe, answer some work emails. I'll text you when I'm done." He kissed me on the forehead, completely oblivious. "You're the best. I've got a call with Hong Kong in about an hour, so this works out perfectly. Don't spend too much, Mrs. Davies." The name, Mrs. Davies, was like a knife twist. Which one of us is he talking to, I thought. I watched him walk away toward the airport business lounge, his gait confident, his betrayal weighing the air around him. The moment he was out of sight, I moved. I didn't head for the boutiques. I sprinted to the international check-in counter. I pulled out my passport and credit card. I need the next flight out to the U.S., any city, business class. Right now, I demanded, my voice shaking slightly despite my best efforts. The attendant, used to dealing with frantic tourists, calmly found me a seat on a direct flight leaving in 2 hours. I paid the exorbitant last-minute fare without a second thought. Every dollar was worth escaping his immediate control. As I waited at the gate, safe for the moment, I knew I had to contact the real Mrs. Davies, Erica Klein. I couldn't just show up at her house. That would give Alex time to spin a story, to paint me as the obsessed, crazy ex-fiancé. I needed to hit them both simultaneously with undeniable proof. I pulled out the burner phone. I carefully copied all the photos and videos, the birthday parties, the family portraits, the Christmas mornings, to a secure cloud storage account, then transferred them to my own phone. I made sure to save the texts mentioning the house address, the child's name, and their 5-year history. This wasn't just emotional evidence. This was proof of bigamy and fraud. Then I found Erica Klein's number in the contact list. My finger hovered over the call button. I was about to drop a nuclear bomb into the life of a woman who, like me, was an unwitting victim. My heart hammered. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I had to be clinical, not emotional. I pressed call. The phone rang 3 times. A warm, pleasant voice answered. "Hello, this is Erica." Her voice was exactly how I imagined it. Kind, gentle, a mother's voice. Hearing it made the whole situation 10 times worse. "Erica, my name is Clara. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I need you to listen to me and you need to believe me." I started, keeping my tone low and steady. "This is about Alex." A pause, a small, polite chuckle. "Oh, Alex, is he trying to pull off a surprise? He's always planning elaborate things." Her complete ignorance was heartbreaking. I had to break it to her fast. "Erica, Alex is not who you think he is. I know you're his wife, and I need to tell you that I just married him 2 days ago in the Maldives. We are on our honeymoon right now." Silence. A long, agonizing silence on the other end. Then her voice, sharp and dangerously quiet. "Who is this? Is this some sort of sick joke? Alex is with his clients today. He's in the city." "No, Erica, he's not. He just left me at the airport. He's in the business lounge, probably calling you right now. Pretending to be busy, I am sitting at the gate for a flight back to the U.S. I have his other phone, the one he uses for your family, and I have proof." I didn't wait for her to argue. I used his burner phone to send her one of the most recent family photos. Alex, Benny, and Erica, all smiling happily, dated just 3 weeks prior. Then I quickly sent her the photo from our wedding, me and Alex cutting the cake. The response was immediate. A muffled gasp, followed by the sound of something heavy dropping. "Oh my God," she whispered, the composure completely gone. That's not possible. That woman is me, and that woman, that's you." "Yes, we are both married to him, Erica. Legally, you are the real Mrs. Davies. I am the victim of fraud and bigamy. He's been living 2 entirely separate lives, managing both of us, maintaining 2 homes, 1 child, and 2 sets of families." I explained my plan quickly, leaving no room for disbelief. "I'm heading home now. When I land, I'm going to my lawyer. But before I do that, you need to do something for me. I need you to go into your shared office, look for his safe, and find his divorce papers. I need to know definitively if he ever filed them for you." Erica sounded like she was hyperventilating. "Divorce papers? He never mentioned divorce. We were fine." "That's what he wants you to believe. If he hasn't filed, we have him cold. Meet me tomorrow afternoon. We need to do this together. Don't let him know you know. Act normal. Do you understand?" I understand," she choked out. Her voice was already hardening from shock into a fierce, wounded determination. "Where do we meet?" I gave her the address of a discreet, neutral cafe near my condo, knowing that Alex would only check my usual haunts, not mine. The 2 Mrs. Davies had just formed a terrifying yet necessary alliance. The game was on. The flight back to the United States was the longest, most agonizing 12 hours of my life I didn't sleep. I just stared out the window, watching the curvature of the earth slowly turn, matching the horrible twist of my reality. I had gone from blissfully married on Monday to a victim of fraud and a partner in crime solving with a woman I'd never met on Wednesday. The moment I landed, I didn't go to the condo Alex and I shared. I knew I couldn't face that place. Not yet. Besides, he'd be texting me soon, wondering why I hadn't made it back to the Maldivian resort. I went directly to the office of the most ruthlessly effective divorce lawyer in the city, someone recommended by a high-powered friend. Laying out the evidence for my lawyer, Mrs. Albright, felt surreal. I showed her the wedding license, now worthless, the texts, the photos of Alex, Erica, and Benny, and the address of the Oakwood house. Mrs. Albright, a woman who had clearly seen everything, raised an eyebrow only once when I showed her the text where Alex was referred to as Daddy. "This is airtight, Clara. Textbook bigamy and spousal fraud," she stated, her voice sharp and unemotional. "Since the marriage is void from the start, we skip the messy divorce process. We go straight for criminal charges and civil damages. He's facing prison time and financial ruin. We will freeze every joint asset immediately, including the funds from your trust that he had access to." This was precisely the reassurance I needed. I left her office feeling cold, but focused. The emotional pain was still a deep, aching void, but the need for justice was hardening into an unbreakable resolve. The meeting with Erica was scheduled for 4 p.m. I arrived 15 minutes early at the discreet cafe, choosing a back booth where we couldn't be easily observed. I ordered black coffee, needing the bitterness to match my mood. I watched the door, nerves stretched taut. What would she look like? Angry? Devastated? Would she believe me in person? At 4:05 p.m., she walked in. Erica Klein. She was stunning, but right now, she looked like a ghost. Her eyes, the same warm brown as Alex's, were red-rimmed and hollow. She carried herself with the slightly weary grace of a busy mother. She spotted me immediately. She approached the table slowly, her gaze fixed on me. "Clara," she said, her voice barely a breath. It was strange, hearing her say my name, a word that now tied our two fractured lives together. "Erica." "Please sit down," I gestured. She slid into the booth opposite me. We stared at each other for a long moment, two reflections of the same colossal deception. We were dressed similarly, stylish, professional, the kind of woman Alex would choose. The realization was sickening. "Did you find it?" I asked. Cutting straight to the point, Erica reached into her oversized tote bag, her hand trembling. She pulled out a thick manila envelope and slid it across the table. "He has a small safe in his home office, hidden behind a bookshelf. He taught Benny to call it his treasure chest," she said, her voice cracking on her son's name. "I told Alex I was taking Benny to a late dentist appointment this morning. I opened it." She pushed the envelope closer. "I found his last will and testament, a ridiculous amount of cash, and this." Inside the envelope were bank statements, property deeds, and a large stack of legal documents. I quickly flipped through them. My eyes scanned for the key phrase, "dissolution of marriage." "Well?" Erica demanded, leaning forward. I shook my head slowly, the cold truth settling over us like a final layer of ice. "There are no divorce papers, Erica. Not a single filing, no decree, no petition, nothing. You are legally, indisputably still his wife. I am simply the woman he defrauded." Erica let out a strangled sob, burying her face in her hands. 5 years. 5 years of marriage, a child, a home. And all that time, he was planning, what? A backup wife? A vacation wife? We are not his backup plan, Erica. We are his assets, his secrets, I corrected her firmly. And now we need to be his worst nightmare. I quickly summarized the meeting with Mrs. Albright. The voided marriage, the pending criminal charges, the asset freeze. Erica listened intently, wiping her tears away, her expression shifting from devastation to cold anger. I also found this, she said, pulling out a small metallic flash drive. It was tucked inside a ledger. It's encrypted, but the label says Oakwood Property Transfers. I don't know what it is. More secrets, I said, tucking the flash drive securely into my purse. We'll have the lawyer decrypt it. But the most important thing now is the narrative. Alex will be back tonight. He'll find my note. I left a brief one saying I was leaving because he'd broken my trust. And he'll panic. He'll call me, but he'll also rush to you, Erica. He'll try to control you, to tell you I'm a crazy ex-fiancé trying to extort him. Erica straightened up, her jaw clenched. He won't get the chance. I want him to walk into a trap. We spent the next 2 hours meticulously planning our strike. We agreed that Erica would stay in the Oakwood house, acting as if she knew nothing until Alex returned. I would monitor his movements from my lawyer's secure location. Our ultimate goal, to get him to confess everything on a recording, confirming the bigamy and the financial fraud, before serving him with the legal papers. The most crucial element was Benny. We both agreed that Alex's downfall should be handled with the utmost discretion to protect the child. We were victims of a massive shared lie, but our solidarity was about to turn the tide. We were going to dismantle his 2 lives. Together, I was set up in a temporary, secure apartment complex booked by Mrs. Albright's firm, far from my condo. The waiting was the worst part. Every time my phone vibrated, I jumped, knowing it was either Alex, desperate and spinning, or Erica, ready for the next move. Alex's texts started coming in late that evening, just hours after his plane must have landed. He was frantic. Alex, Clara, where are you? The note, what does it mean? I've called the police. This isn't funny. Call me now. Alex, I love you. Whatever you think is wrong, we can fix it. Don't do anything crazy. I'm waiting at the condo. I ignored them all. He was playing the concerned husband, oblivious to the fact that his wife and his other wife were now communicating. Erica's first text came at midnight. He's home. He's been drinking. He's panicking about you, trying to call you. I'm acting completely normal. I love you, Alex. Please call your wife, I told him. He bought it. The next morning, the real tension began. Alex had clearly realized I wasn't coming back and that his fabricated life with me was over. His focus immediately shifted to preserving his core asset, his legal family and his financial structure. Erica executed her part of the plan flawlessly. She told Alex she needed him to go through their old financial files to find some property tax documents, feigning concern over an upcoming audit. This was our chance to get him into the office where she had set the recording device. Clara, I'm hiding in the laundry room, running the washing machine for background noise. Erica texted me at 11 a.m. He's in the office. The mic is on. I quickly called Erica using a secure, untraceable line provided by the lawyers. I knew Alex would recognize my voice, and this was the perfect moment for the dramatic reveal. Erica answered, her voice tight with forced concern. "Alex? Honey? It's Clara's friend. I told her I'd call you," I said, putting a slight tremor in my voice. I heard Alex snatch the phone on Erica's end. "Clara, where the hell are you? You have no idea what you're doing," he barked, his voice laced with aggression and fear. "I know exactly what I'm doing, Alex," I said, my voice now strong and steady, dropping the pretense. "I'm getting out of your web of lies. I know about Erica. I know about Benny. I know you never divorced her, and our marriage is a sham." A thunderous silence fell. Even the washing machine seemed to stop. How did you find out?" Alex finally stammered, the terror in his voice palpable. "You left your other life's phone on our honeymoon, Alex. The one with 5 years of family photos, birthday messages, and texts where you're called Daddy. What did you think? That I was too stupid to connect the dots?" "You listen to me, Clara," he hissed, dropping the concerned husband act entirely. "You leave Erica and Benny out of this. You walk away right now. You sign the annulment papers my lawyer is sending you, and I will write you a large check. You will never see me again." This was the financial confession we needed. He was admitting his guilt and trying to buy my silence. A check for what, Alex? For wasting 2 years of my life? For making me a bigamist without my knowledge? For the fraud you committed when you convinced me to invest my inheritance into your last development project? I pressed him on the financial aspect, which was the most damaging legally. That money is gone. It's tied up in the Oakwood property transfers. I needed that money to buy Erica's silence if she ever found out. It was the only way to cover the house and Benny's education fund. He roared, losing control. He confessed to using my money to shore up his real life. I heard a small gasp on the line, but I knew it wasn't Erica. She was still safely hidden. And why would Erica need silence, Alex? I pushed, baiting him toward the final confirmation. Because you lied to her too? You never divorced her, did you? She's the real Mrs. Davies, and I'm just the cash cow. Yes, of course I never divorced her, he screamed. She's the mother of my son. You were the one with the money. I was trying to protect my family, keep them safe. You were just a means to an end, Clara, a pretty distraction. Click. I hung up the secure line, the venom in his voice still echoing in my ear. He had just confessed to everything, the bigamy, the fraud, and the intent. Erica in the laundry room had the entire devastating conversation recorded. Seconds later, my phone vibrated with a text from Erica. I got it all, every word. He's pacing like a caged animal. Now what? Now, I texted back, you walk out of that laundry room and you serve him the papers. The moment of reckoning was finally here. I pictured Erica, strong and steady, emerging from the shadows, holding the legal documents that would shatter Alex's world forever. The two Mrs. Davies, betrayed but not broken, were finally delivering justice. The line was silent for a minute after I hung up. I imagined the scene in the Oakwood office, Alex, reeling from the realization that his carefully guarded secret was out, and Erica, the seemingly docile wife, emerging from the laundry room with the full weight of the legal system in her hands. A few minutes later, Erica texted me, her words short, powerful, and lacking any emotion. Done. Served him with the injunctions and the notice of petition for annulment of your fraudulent marriage. He tried to grab the recorder I got out. He's calling his lawyer now. We moved to the next step. The next step was financial warfare. Mrs. Albright, my lawyer, wasted no time. With Alex's audio confession and the undeniable evidence that he had fraudulently obtained funds from my personal trust for his other family's security, she initiated the asset freeze. This meant Alex's company accounts, our joint accounts, and every property he owned, including the Oakwood house, were immediately flagged and inaccessible. The man who had boasted about his financial success was now, legally, penniless. That evening, I watched the news from the secure apartment. A small local business blurb mentioned that Alex Davies' firm, Davies Development, had just seen its primary assets frozen due to a complex legal dispute. No mention of bigamy, not yet, but the financial damage was immediate and devastating. The next day, I met with Mrs. Albright to discuss the flash drive Erica had found, the one labeled Oakwood Property Transfers. Mrs. Albright brought in a forensic IT specialist. The encryption was standard but clever, the specialist explained, handing the drive back to Mrs. Albright. It's not just property transfers, it's a ledger. A detailed hidden ledger documenting 5 years of payments, offshore transfers, and large untraceable deposits. The ledger didn't just detail the purchase and maintenance of the Oakwood house, it detailed the acquisition of several other safe houses scattered throughout the state, registered under various shell corporations Alex controlled. These weren't for his family, they were simply assets, hidden from both me and, more importantly, from Erica. But the most shocking entries were the recurring, substantial payments labeled JS Trust Fee. "What is the JS Trust Fee?" I asked, my heart pounding with a fresh wave of dread. Mrs. Albright's expression was grim. JS Trust is a known entity, Clara. It's a very discreet, very expensive service. They specialize in managing identities and records for high-profile clients who need to compartmentalize their lives. In short, they manage double lives. This wasn't just a spontaneous lie Alex told. This was a calculated, multi-year professional deception operation. The recurring payments meant Alex was paying a third party to actively ensure I never crossed paths with Erica, and that his fraudulent marriage to me was legally facilitated without the official marriage records in our state flagging the bigamy. He had paid someone to ensure his perfect lie remained perfectly separate. This new evidence changed the legal game. It escalated the case from spousal fraud to criminal conspiracy, and money laundering. Alex wasn't just a liar. He was a sophisticated financial criminal using my money to fund his crimes. Meanwhile, Alex was spiraling. He kept calling my phone, leaving desperate, abusive voicemails that contradicted his previous pleas. He went from, "I love you," to, "You will regret this. I will ruin your family's reputation." My lawyer advised me to block him entirely. Using his calls as further evidence of harassment, Erica and I maintained contact, strengthening our unexpected bond. She was now enduring the terrifying experience of living with the man who had defrauded her too, all while trying to protect Benny. She told me Alex was gone most of the time, desperately trying to unfreeze his assets and hire lawyers who could untangle the mess. The atmosphere in the Oakwood house was cold, tense, and silent. He tried to take Benny to his mother's house, Erica confided in a late-night text. "But I have the first set of injunctions. He can't leave the county with Benny without my written consent. He's trapped." Trapped. That was the word. Alex was trapped by his 2 lives, now converging into one catastrophic legal singularity. We had taken away his money, his freedom, and his ability to control his son. But the biggest revelation from the JS Trust ledger was yet to come. It wasn't about another hidden property. It was about the very basis of his success. The revelation of the JS Trust payments was the proof that Alex wasn't just a deceptive husband, he was an organized criminal. The ledger was far more than a record of hidden assets. It was the blueprint of his entire career. Mrs. Albright and the IT specialist spent days cross-referencing the ledger entries with Alex's company's official financial statements. What they found was the final total disintegration of the man I thought I married. "Clara," Mrs. Albright said gravely, placing a thick report on the table. "Alex Davies's success wasn't due to brilliant business acumen. It was a classic, sophisticated Ponzi scheme, but localized and focused on real estate." The ledger detailed how Alex had been taking large investments from high-net-worth individuals, promising massive returns on the developments he was always promoting. But instead of using all the money for construction, he would skim huge amounts off the top, using the funds from new investors to pay the returns to the older ones. The money I'd put into his last project hadn't gone into concrete and steel. It had gone directly into the slush fund he used to pay JS Trust and maintain the charade of his two lives. The discovery of the fraudulent investment scheme explained everything: his need for my large trust fund, his frequent business trips, which were actually panic meetings with investors demanding returns, and his frantic attempts to keep his assets liquid and hidden. His entire empire was built on a foundation of lies and theft. Now, the stakes were no longer just about me and Erica. The defrauded investors, many of whom were friends of Alex's family and ours, would soon be coming for their money. Criminal charges would escalate from bigamy and spousal fraud to felony wire fraud and grand larceny. The narrative was shifting from a juicy family drama to a massive financial scandal. Erica and I met again, this time at Mrs. Albright's office. Erica looked relieved but utterly exhausted. Living under the same roof as a man facing imminent destruction was taking its toll. "He's pathetic," Erica sighed, pushing a strand of hair back from her face. "He cried last night. Not about us or Benny, but about his reputation. He said, 'My life is over. My company is done.' He's terrified of prison." I felt nothing. Not pity, not triumph, just a deep, weary satisfaction. "It should be over, Erica. He risked everything, including his child's security, on this elaborate lie." Erica handed me a piece of paper. "I found this hidden in one of Benny's old coloring books. It was a note, folded up. I think it was meant for JS Trust." The note was handwritten by Alex, clearly in a rush. "Need to finalize the transfer of the St. Kitts account. ASAP investors are asking questions. If they trace the initial seed money, I'm done. Get the funds moved by end of week." The note confirmed the last missing piece of the puzzle: an offshore account used to hide the seed money, likely the initial massive stolen investment that started the whole Ponzi scheme. St. Kitts was the key. Mrs. Albright's eyes lit up. "This is phenomenal. This note connects him directly to a foreign account, proving international money laundering. The feds will love this." We decided to use this final piece of evidence for the grand finale. The plan was to file the full civil and criminal suit simultaneously, making the financial fraud public at the exact moment the bigamy charges hit Alex's downfall needed to be swift, spectacular, and completely public. "We need to ensure Benny is safe first," Erica insisted. She and Mrs. Albright worked out a plan to secure a temporary restraining order based on Alex's erratic behavior and criminal exposure, ensuring Benny would stay with Erica at her sister's house, away from the inevitable media frenzy. With Benny secured, the final strike was ready. I, the secret wife, would be the one to release the statement regarding the bigamy and spousal fraud. Erica, the real wife, would release the information concerning the financial malfeasance and the theft from investors, protecting her own reputation and acting as the whistleblower. He thought he could manage 2 wives, 2 lives, and 2 sets of books, I said, looking out the window, watching the city lights blur. Now, both of his worlds are about to collide. The following day, Mrs. Albright filed the injunctions, the criminal complaints, and the civil suits. The legal papers hit the news wires just after the close of the business day. The headline was immediate and brutal. Prominent developer Alex Davies charged with bigamy, spousal fraud, and operating multi-million-dollar investment scheme. I knew as I read the headline that Alex's perfect life, the perfect lie he had sold both me and Erica, was finally irrevocably over. The world came crashing down on Alex Davies precisely as we planned. Publicly and comprehensively, the news of the bigamy and the massive financial fraud went viral instantly. His face was plastered across every local news outlet, transformed overnight from a respected developer to a criminal mastermind. The image was devastating. The handsome groom from our wedding, juxtaposed with the headline about his double life and the stolen millions. The cascade was immediate. The defrauded investors, including several prominent figures in the city, filed multiple lawsuits, civil and punitive. The FBI and SEC immediately launched their own investigations, focused on the wire fraud and the St. Kitts account mentioned in the hidden ledger. Alex was formally arrested 2 days after the news broke, taken into custody at his lawyer's office. He was denied bail, deemed both a flight risk due to the offshore accounts and a danger to his son due to the mental instability displayed in his final voicemails. I didn't go to the arraignment. I didn't need to see his broken face to feel closure. I had the facts. His companies were bankrupt. His reputation was incinerated, and he was facing decades in federal prison. My own focus shifted immediately to recovery. Mrs. Albright successfully voided my fraudulent marriage to Alex, ensuring I was free from any legal entanglement with his debt. More importantly, she managed to freeze and recover a significant portion of my initial trust fund investment, proving it was defrauded capital used to sustain a criminal enterprise. The most unexpected outcome of this whole nightmare was the bond I forged with Erica Klein. We started as 2 victims of the same man, but we ended up as allies, bound by shared trauma and a shared desire for justice. Erica, now officially the only Mrs. Davies, though she immediately began the process of filing for divorce, now with full custody and total financial leverage, handled the fallout with incredible strength. She protected Benny fiercely, moving to her sister's house until the media storm subsided. She used the evidence we gathered to ensure a watertight, financially advantageous divorce, protecting the few genuine assets Alex hadn't stolen or invested fraudulently for her and Benny's future. We met for coffee about a month after Alex's arrest. It was a strange, reflective meeting. "I still don't understand how he did it," Erica confessed, stirring her tea. "How he looked me in the eye every night, told me he loved me, tucked Benny into bed, and then flew off to play the doting fiancé to you." "He didn't love us, Erica," I replied softly. "He loved the game. He loved the control and the validation. You gave him the life he craved." The child, the home, the respectability. I gave him the money and the excitement. We were both tools in his grand narcissistic theater. We both agreed that the worst part was the sheer emptiness of the memory. All the beautiful moments, the dinners, the holidays, the vows, were poisoned by the underlying continuous lie. They were never real. But out of the wreckage, we found a strange sort of peace. We were able to lean on each other, sharing tips on dealing with the lawyers, the investigators, and the curious eyes of the city. We were the only two people who truly understood the colossal scope of Alex's deception. We weren't friends, perhaps, but we were comrades in a war we hadn't asked to fight months past. Alex pleaded guilty to multiple financial felonies and bigamy charges in a deal to avoid a long, drawn-out trial, hoping for a reduced sentence. The judge, citing the betrayal of public trust and the extreme psychological harm inflicted on two families, gave him a harsh, non-parolable sentence. Justice, heavy and undeniable, had been served. I look out at the ocean now, not from a honeymoon villa in the Maldives, but from a small, quiet beach house I rented myself. The memories of Alex are fading, replaced by the memory of my own strength. I was fooled, yes, but I wasn't broken. I exposed the lie. I built an alliance with my rival, and I delivered the justice we both deserved. The story of the two Mrs. Davies is not one of tragedy, but one of unexpected triumph. We turned his elaborate deception into our collective victory. I may have lost 2 years to a perfect lie, but I gained back my independence, my money, and the cold, hard knowledge that sometimes the most dangerous betrayals hide behind the most charming smiles, and sometimes the best revenge is simply to ensure the truth is known, loudly and forever. Thank you for listening to this difficult confession. We are so grateful to share these stories with you. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments section below.